Welcome to Rev Shots, your weekly dose of quick hit wisdom, where we tackle the most pressing topics of the day for ourselves and our revenue teams. Our show features expert guests with decades of experience. We delve into what works and why, sharing tools to be unapologetically successful, from making our number to delighting our clients. If you're ready to boost your knowledge in under 30 minutes on a weekly basis, tune in. Follow me on LinkedIn or join our mailing list to stay updated on our latest features. Good morning, everybody. And we are here for Rev Shots, episode number 53 with Michael Muse, who I have had the great pleasure of meeting through another colleague, Roderick Jefferson. And all of our interactions have been so amazing, Michael. I love learning from other people. And I think your depth and experience is just amazing. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to have a good conversation today, as we always do. And so for those of you that are turning in, you know, Rev Shots is your quick hits of wisdom that we're bringing you experts and insights from conversations around the world from people in a variety of roles and experiences. And it's kind of like eavesdropping into conversations that you wish you could listen in on. And quite frankly, if you're thinking about a topic, we're probably talking about it on this show.
Right.
So joining everybody. That's our whole goal. And so, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, you're with Muse and Gordon. I love your background. So tell us about you, please.
Yeah. Again, thanks for having me. I'm Michael Muse, president and co-founder of Muse and Gordon Consulting, where we help businesses drive growth through smart, strategic go-to-market execution and brand activation services. My passion is turning big ideas into scalable, result-driven strategies that not only capture market share, but create lasting brand impact. I've spent my career helping companies navigate complex business landscapes, ensuring they don't just launch offerings or solutions, but lead in their industry. So that's my pitch.
Yeah, I love that, Michael. And having seen some of the examples of your work firsthand, it's awe-inspiring and made me go try to work on my own stuff, but I don't have your depth of knowledge or skill by any stretch of the imagination. So for those of you that are curious what it means to kind of have a brand activation lever in your life, I highly encourage you to go and visit Michael Muse's website, check out his LinkedIn profile. There's some pretty amazing work there for those of us that might not be so inclined. So love all of that, Michael. And so everybody who comes on the show, we ask the same two questions, which is throughout your conversations today, what is the biggest topic, like the main topic you're hearing right now in conversation, and what are people doing about it?
Yes. So, like others, AI, right? You're hearing a lot about the AI movement, right? Yeah. The biggest themes we're hearing isn't just about AI or technology. It's about the death of traditional business models. So when I say the death of traditional business models, it's really saying companies are realizing that the old ways of scaling, marketing, and even building relationships are becoming obsolete. We're shifting from an era of growth at all costs to one of purpose-driven autonomy. So, yeah.
You just covered a whole lot of ground with that statement, Michael, and hit every button unknowingly, probably, that is a passion for me. And so love it. And I hear you, because I hear that too, where the whole growth at all costs and just throw bodies and throw tech at something and it'll be fine is blessedly finally over. And so what do you think? Is it AI kind of acting as an impetus to that, or what is sparking that at the end?
Yeah. So at Muse and Gordon, we see this playing out in how businesses are moving beyond just digitalization. Yes. They're embracing decentralization and autonomous ecosystem. So think about it in the frame of companies aren't just adopting AI to streamline operations. They're using it to redefine what a company even is. Autonomous agents aren't just handling tasks, they're making decisions, adapting strategies, and in some cases, operating entire business functions without human oversight. So you take all that into consideration, and the kicker is the real frontier isn't technology, it's trust, Trust.
Yeah. And is it trust and then the people setting up the systems to create the automation?
Yes. So as companies become more autonomous, the question shifts from what can AI do to how do we build systems that people actually trust. So we're seeing businesses invest more in ethical frameworks and transparent AI governance than flashy tech features. It's recognition that in this new landscape, the brands that will thrive are the ones that can create autonomous systems, but also that are not only efficient, but also accountable and human-centric. So
everything you just said just makes my heart sing with that, Michael, because it's aligning the people, process, and tech in such a way that I think a lot of us have always wanted to see, and the technology is finally here to make that happen.
Yeah.
I want to go back really quick because you mentioned organizations being more purpose-driven, and I couldn't agree with you more. I love, we are lucky enough to go to Saddleback Church here. I heard Rick Warren speak for 10 years before another pastor came in, and he wrote The Purpose-Driven Life. Have you ever read it?
I haven't read it. I've heard of it, but I haven't read it yet. It's on my list.
Yeah, it's a good one. And that whole book, it talks about being purpose-driven. Yeah. And so when I hear that word purpose, that phrase purpose-driven, that always reminds me of that, of being purpose-driven and making sure that our thoughts, actions, and deeds are aligned with our purpose. Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit more about how you're seeing organizations go through the machination of AI and trust and human centricity to align to being more purpose-driven?
Well, it's all about access to information and the speed and time to value of that information, right? So just think about how you're leveraging AI right now, and you're able to access at your fingertip certain types of things that would take you weeks and months to even assess, and it became daunting. So now that it's at your fingertips and you're able to leverage it, you're now able to spend time, that new valued time that you have, to make sure that things are aligning to your purpose and what's important to you, and then also execute on those things. So it's the access, it's the time to value of that access, and then it's aligning to those things which are important to you, because now you have the time, you have the intelligence, and you have the capacity to make sure all things are aligned to that purpose-driven sort of mantra that you're achieving.
Yeah. Michael, so as you're talking through that, I'm thinking about a slide and kind of equation that talks about, if the slide is titled purpose-driven, it's time plus capacity plus access to information equals being able to be purpose-driven. Mm-hmm. So you talked too about kind of the AI guidelines. So I think the question I have for you is, how are you seeing organizations successfully pull in AI? Because I agree with you. Every executive, every organization right now is pulling in AI, whether IT likes it or not, right? Yeah. So how are you seeing organizations create those AI guidelines appropriately? Yeah. Right? Because for organizations that are in a highly regulated vertical, we have to be really careful with data and things of that nature, right? Mm-hmm. But how are you seeing organizations set up those guidelines? How are you seeing them pull in AI well? And the word you also talked about was execute, because so many things die on the vine because of poor rollout, implementation, execution, not for lack of trying.
Right.
So talk a little bit about how you're seeing folks do some of that successfully. Those two.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at Microsoft. You got to look at some of these top AI enterprises that are building packages and turnkey solutions that are easily and seamlessly integrated into any business or company's sort of processes and procedures. So, it's the future isn't just about what AI can automate. It's about how businesses can evolve into living, breathing ecosystems that are agile, ethical, and fundamentally reimagined from the ground up. So that's how I see these businesses implementing AI. And the key is, and one of the gaps that are sort of being addressed is governance. So that's that layer of just making sure that the ethical uses and governance within the enterprises, within companies, is maintained and following protocols. But at the end of the day, it's used to scale and it's seamlessly being integrated. And how easy can it be interoperable with some of the legacy systems that companies are using?
Right. So that is such a great great comment as well, right? And so seeing companies like Microsoft and others kind of do this well. So with your clients, how are they interacting with you to kind of bring some of these guidelines and framework to life and then roll that out in their organizations? What is that?
Yeah. So when you're talking about strategy, right, you're talking about the gathering of data to inform a plan to go win that you can execute with. So a lot of them are asking for, market assessments. They're asking for in an expedited way. They're asking for intelligence to be gathered in an expedited way, but also aligning to the use cases that are established from their solutions or their services or content creation to help them distinguish and determine value props. So a lot of it is being from the research side, quantitative and qualitative, but also from the content and communication sides, internally and externally. That's how we're being brought in to help companies see value immediately from AI.
Okay. And so with that, kind of who's at that table in particular, and what questions are they asking?
Yeah, so who's at that table usually are those who are leading the innovation or offering or product launches. So you'll have a lot of engineers and product people. But then there's also those who are downstream and need to execute on market share through either sales or partner enablement. And they need to have the assets or communications of any product or service. They need that intelligence in order to be effective in market and have intelligent conversations around the solution. So you have a mix of operational and product guys mixed with sales enablement and marketing people.
Yeah, absolutely. And so where I'm going with all of this, right? Because we want to be able to give everybody listening those aha moments like, okay, if I'm going to use AI, like here are the top 3 things I need to be thinking about. So who's at my table?
Yeah.
Where do I start? How do I make it successful? So where have you seen, your clients or talking with some of your colleagues, where have maybe you seen them start? Like, what are their top 3 things that they do or think about when they're going to go and leverage AI to be successful? Kind of what does that look like?
Yeah. You have to start off first with really understanding what is the requirements for any said output. So it's important to be able to articulate the requirements in an effective way that not only streamlines all the other events that take place, but it allows you to engage with any AI tools in an effective way that allows that machine learning and those algorithms to really output the things that are going to drive action versus you not having those requirements or that historical knowledge for the computer to learn from. And that feeds the prompt. It feeds the machine learning and it just expedites and just makes it more efficient for you to start off.
Mm-hmm. I love that too. And what does it look like too? I mean, just in talking with folks, kind of the how at the end of the day, because I think let's pause a moment and talk about the fear of change, right? And so, I in some of the work I do, there's definitely a lot of coaching and guiding people through certain thought processes, right? And especially change. And there's this AI is going to take my job and all that good stuff. And I argue that statement because in every technological advancement or advancement of any kind, it hasn't taken away jobs and it's a zero-sum game. It's replaced jobs that require a new skill set.
Right.
And so there's somewhat some therapy going on here, right? So, and so how, are you in those conversations and what are people saying? And maybe they're not right out coming out and saying, hey, AI is going to take my job and I'm scared because sometimes we really articulate our thoughts and feelings around those things. But, how are you maybe addressing some of those hesitancies and some of those fear-based thoughts at the end of the day to help people get past that?
Yeah. So I'm not having those conversations from actual stakeholders that I'm engaging with in regards to certain types of projects, but you do have concern from practitioners in regards to, like, for instance, copywriters or creatives that are like, you know what, there's no room for me now. Like people are now just leveraging AI for content.
That is true.
Yeah, for them, I try to help them understand that it's a tool that they can use to become even more better. But in regards to clients or projects, if there's any hesitation or lack of adoption, once you're able to tie it back to true business outcomes and value, they tend to buy in and wants to learn or use it to see how these efficiencies can be attained. So that's where.
Yeah, I like that too. I think it's the knowing, showing, and doing.
Yes.
Right. Is kind of knowing kind of the surround strategy of what that the surround strategy of your AI strategy at the end of the day, or any strategy. Yeah. And then definitely like bringing all that out into the open, right? I always say the only thing that grows in the dark is BS and mushrooms. And unless you like mushrooms, like there's the alternative, right?
Right,
so
right.
Get it all out onto the table, right? And I think sometimes what stops us is maybe we're afraid of so many things, right? Rejection or looking silly or whatever, but it's like, just get it out there and create the environment to have that healthy conversation around AI. It is certainly not going anywhere.
Exactly. And I feel that people are more receptive to those things after they understand how it adds value to their day-to-day activities in life than they are when it's forced upon them as, something that needs to be utilized.
That is such a really great point, and we should definitely talk about that, right? Because I think it's easy to kind of get into a dictatorial component, right? And in some of the leadership workshops that I lead with folks, one of the things I always share is, from a leadership perspective, organizationally and person-wise, we leaders own the what and the why. And being able to contextually frame that can really bring the temperature down for folks. And just like you're talking about, being able to say, hey, AI is not going to replace, it's going to be able to enhance what you're already doing.
Right.
And so really kind of pausing to have some of those framing conversations, and then giving people the keys to the kingdom to say, your sphere of work better than anybody else. Here's the keys to the kingdom. We've identified the what, the why, the purpose.
Right.
Have at it and show us, right, your expertise and how perhaps using AI can make it better.
Yeah, that's where it's at. And with the launching of more open source platforms, now you have just use cases after use cases being at your fingertips in regards to what you can utilize and how it can help you. It's just not just content anymore. It's visuals. It's therapy. It's all types of platforms that are being utilized. So it's becoming a common thread throughout just all sort of engagements of the human condition and society.
Yeah, it really is. And, as we're talking about this, Michael, I have actually yet to encounter anybody who has been afraid to use AI or bring it, right? Like so many people are, and maybe I need to talk to more people. I don't know. But I would say that the people I'm talking to are like, heck no. Like, have you heard of this tool? Have you heard of this tool? Have you heard of Reclaim AI and Gamma and all these others? And you're like, holy bananas. Every time you turn around, there's a tool and you're like, this is amazing. So it doesn't take me a day to build a deck. It takes me an hour and a half, right? Because I can get from 0 to 1 a lot quicker than I could without AI.
Right. And if you think about it from the generational sort of gaps of populations, right? I have my older aunties and elderly uncles that at first they were like AI, all this, but their number one favorite AI tool is Alexa. That they ask for everything. I'm like, okay, all right. So it's one of those things that I think no matter who you are or where you are, there is some positive attributes that you can leverage it for.
I 100% agree with you. And so is that kind of how you're seeing your clients use it? And do you use it with your clients, right? And are people happy with that? Like, what does that look like?
Yes, I use it with my clients each and every engagement because it just expedites the actual timelines. And when I say timelines, it's that value thing. So if it's something around, they need a strategy. I'm leveraging AI to get all those tangible market assessment types of things, and I'm spitting it out in a strategic plan for the client to see within, days versus weeks. You know what I mean? So that's important, because everything that you do within a client needs to be informed. It needs to drive business outcomes, and it needs to deliver the results, right? So I'm leveraging it every day in that capacity, and it's just increasingly driving efficiencies and time to value in an expedited way.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing the same thing with it, and it's interesting. So have you seen organizations maybe when you're in that mode and they're like, wow, that was really quick, right? Are you seeing that kind of too? Maybe that healthy.
Yeah. You'll see that, and then the first thing they'll say is, oh, that was AI or what, because they're able to put the pieces together. But I think this is when you're able to match against your expertise and what you've been doing for a while, and then leveraging AI, because there has to be a subject master. This is where the human comes in, right?
Yep, where I was going with it.
Yes, yep. There has to be an element of oversight, which is driven from just subject matter expertise and what from your experience, that balances out the scales of value and output that allows that to be informed and usable. So
yeah. So say more about that, because what I find in talking with folks and talking with clients, right, is everybody gets the what and the why. Like we put together this program, or my reps are doing X, or my managers have one-on-ones, right? But a lot of times it's deal review versus what I hear. The conversations that need to take place are a little bit more on the personal development side, right? The true comprehension versus communication. Right? Like, oh, I get it now. This is how I'm going to use AI in my world. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of what I hear you when I think of the human element and harmonizing people, process, and tech, is that absorption into the human brain and behavior patterns of, got it, this is how I can use it.
Yes, because that's what drives adoption, is when it's effectively communicated and it actually aligns and correlates with that sort of human element. Because like you hear it all the time, you got to meet people where they are, right? And that's so true. And in order to do that, you need to be able to assess, evaluate, but also articulate any challenges or proof points in order to drive that adoption, and why it's important to utilize it or why it's useful. So I agree with you. It's definitely that.
I love that, Michael. I know we have a lot of those conversations with our clients, and in the back of my head, I'm like, we're having a change management conversation right now. Right? Yeah, I love that. So what do you think the future holds, and what are you most excited about with you and the work you're doing? I love the fact that you call it brand activation, right? Like we just live in such a great world where we can bring so much to life in a way that we couldn't before. So what's got you excited about the future the most?
I mean, what got me excited is just the multitude of use cases and tools that are just going to keep evolving and being available to you to use. And then also the acceptance from clients and just the community in regards to, okay, yes, this is a part of what it is. This is how it's being used, and everything is going to be tailored and customizable in a way that allows you to personalize even more. So I'm just excited about the constant evolution of AI and how it adapts to the ever-changing use cases that are being utilized in market today.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is kind of fun to see what the future holds. I think as long as we can keep harmonizing the people element of it, the human element of it, because it does require oversight, at least for now, right? Some of the next gen stuff is it's a little Terminator-ish. If nobody's seen that movie, you should go watch it, because that's the world we live in right now. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. One last question for you. This one's probably coming from left field a little bit. Have you heard, because AI takes so much power, literally like plug-in power, is anybody concerned about sustainability or anything like that? I haven't heard that really, because people are like, I just kind of expect it to work. But curious, I know Microsoft has their sustainability report, right? And all that good stuff. I'm curious if people are going, I know this has taken a lot of computing power and
Yeah. So, I mean, you hear about it. You hear about that's being one of the challenges and use cases that needs to be solved for. And I think the way to address that is that we're having the conversations across industries, particularly in the energy sectors and utility sector, to make sure we're not leaving them behind and that we're actually building in these sort of protocols or these stopgaps in order to make sure we don't just blow up the grid. You would think that these conversations are being held, particularly in this new regime of governance that we're having, with some of that expertise coming from, people like Elon or whoever who, this is where they play, their sectors are. So hopefully that's being solved for, but, and you're seeing some of these big data centers just be launched. And hopefully that when they're launching these huge data centers, there are capacity and battery and storage and off-grid technologies being launched as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I think too, what I hear you talking about, and I do the same thing, is I am trusting and I'm assuming that there are really smart people solving this problem.
Right.
For the majority of us that can use this technology.
Yeah.
So Michael, thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you. This was fun. This was very, very a good time. So I really appreciate you having me, and look forward to a continued partnership with you.
Absolutely, Michael. It's going to be amazing. So where can people find you? Where should they go?
Well, yes, go to museandgordon.com and you can find me there.
So I love it. Yeah. Please make sure you're also following Michael and Muse and Gordon as well on LinkedIn. They put out some amazing content. Definitely visit their website. And we look forward to having everybody back again, I believe, next Friday on Valentine's Day. And until then, make it a great day.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, Michael.